Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, August 16th, 2021. Relatively big gap down here this morning, so let's get after it here today, right? Big gap down here on the SPY, going from that, say, 446 down towards that 444.20 zone, right? For now, still hard to fight this to the downside, or at least like it's a bit challenging to want to play this short, right? If we might be able to get some like BB setups or something along those lines, right? But as a pure like support and resistance play, right? SPY doesn't look like it's ready for a move to the downside here yet, right? Until we can kind of sort of invalidate this like 436 area, right? It to me still looks like a buy the dip type trade. That's obviously not going to be the play take here this AM. I'm going to wait to see how things develop, right? But if we kind of do get that continued weakness, then it'll be a Bollinger Band, right? Breakdown kind of continuation move right under this 444 towards that 442 zone. Decent gap down though, right? So let's see how this thing holds up. Yeah, we'll just have to see, right? It's not an easy short here, or not an obvious short here. Until we can break that 436. Right, QQQ gapping down here as well. Not nearly as dramatic though under that 370 area. Same kind of story. We need to see how we hold up towards this 360. If we can lose this 360 area, then Q starts to get pretty bearish pretty fast. But sort of above there, right, we still have too much evidence of dip buyers pushing this price up, right? So we're not going to fight against that here this AM. You know, bullish case starts for a break above that 370 area, right? And then we can start moving. But that looks a little bit unlikely here this AM. We might need to focus on something else, right? So Apple, right, looking for that further continuation here, right? Starting to look like a bit of a wedge possibly, right? So let's see if we can get a breakout, to the upside or to the downside here, right? Still looking for that move up and over this 150 area. Right, otherwise looking for breakdown sort of under this 144 zone. Same thing though, right? We still have a little bit of ways to go before we're really willing to be bearish on this, right? So let this level break down. If things do go red this morning, we're probably going to stay away from the core 5 names in the indexes, right? There's a lot of other nice looking bear setups, right, that are closer to triggering or stronger, or just kind of look stronger, right, than some of these core names. So we're not going to fight the general trend or sort of the general market strength, and we're going to look to sort of play the momentum, right, or sort of what looks like it's easy to happen for us, right? This Tesla is gapping down on some news actually. So they're being investigated by like their autopilot's being investigated for possibly causing some collisions. Be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, right? In general here, this Tesla is a little bit of a kind of works with its own little mind, right? So we're going to look for breakdowns kind of under this 696 area if this thing continues to be weak this morning, right? That starts to get a little bit interesting towards that 690 zone. Underneath though, right, we do have a little bit of wicks, right? We do have a little bit of resistance. So I'd like to see how this thing can hold up, right? What kind of conviction we can get here at these levels, and then see if we can break, right? For now, we've been holding that 700 zone exceptionally well. So we need to see that area fall with strong volume, right? If it's a low volume break through this, say, 696 zone, right, I'm not going to follow it. I start to lose a little bit of interest. And low volume is going to be a relative term, right? So if we get that breakdown, early on, first 5 minutes of the day, well, you want that first 5 min candle to be, greater than any 5 min candle, say, of the previous days, right? And then it's, if it happens in the first 15, you want that first 15 minute candle to be, the greatest volume of the day. So that's kind of the, like what we're looking for, right? If this thing does break down to the downside, we need that volume to be aggressive, aggressive towards our downside thesis, right? Microsoft, right, still looking for this ascending wedge continuation breakout. Really nice move there on Friday, right? Strong volume, increasing volume. Again, gapping down here a little bit this AM, but still so far holding kind of that high, right? So still holding above sort of that initial gap up area. Now I'd like to see it hold 292 if possible, right? If it can bounce off this 291.70, that's not bad either. But I would say best case scenario probably for this Microsoft is like give me an inside bar today for that test above that 293 tomorrow. So let's go over a few of the pattern plays that we're looking at, right? That certainly look interesting. There's a couple here that are giving us setups to the upside and downside, right? We've been talking about this SQ here for a while for this possible bull flag, right? Well, it's been taking its sweet time. Doesn't want to break down, doesn't want to break out, right? So that kind of, I don't want to say it invalidates this bull flag, right? But it kind of makes you think that, hey, if it was going to run, maybe it would have run by now. So then now we're getting an inside bar here on Friday, right? After a kind of a lot of selling pressure, we're starting to see a lot of top heavy wicks, right? Pushing this down. And now we're gapping down sort of towards that 265 area. So break under this low, this 264.40, kind of opens the door for a move towards that 260 zone relatively quickly. So this will be something to very much keep an eye on this morning, especially if the market in tech looks weak in general, right? If we do get rips to the upside, okay, maybe I'll look for plays above that 273 area. But for me, bias is to the downside on this inside bar breakdown. Right. AMD is another one that's kind of giving us some potential in either direction. Right. We have a 3 red soldiers here, 1, 2, 3. Right. Follow that up with by a little bit of a bear flag here. So if we can get that breakdown under this 103.55, right, that's a bear flag continuation. Alternatively, right, we have a nice DTR bullish reversion, right, on Friday off this August 13th candle. So bullish engulfing on volume, bullish engulfing in practice. So then if we can get that rip up and over, say, this 112.50 area, right, we start having room towards that 115 zone with very limited resistance. So we have a way of playing this sort of in either direction, and I'm happy to kind of take stabs either way. Right, J&J. Still looking for that wedge breakout continuation right now over that 176.33. This thing continues to show us lots of signs of strength, right? So we're just going to keep playing this all the way up, right, until it dies off, right? Really strong volume, right? Increasing volume, well above average on that rip on Friday. So as the market was seeing kind of general thin volume, right? J&J was seeing a relative increase in volume. And I like that as a possible sign going forward, right? This Pfizer, another one of those kind of healthcare plays that are kind of moving in sympathy with each other. This thing can move over that 48.60 area, right? Then it looks ready like it can give you that sort of continuation move towards that $50 zone, right? I'm not really interested in anything else other than breakouts over that 48.60. Amazon's starting to give you a little bit of some setups here, possibly in either direction, right? You're going to look for moves to the downside, though, here. I think that's sort of where my bias is, right? We've kind of lost this trend line here a little bit. You can argue that it's a, low vol pullback, something like that, right? So if we can get this breakdown under this 32.68 zone, right, then it can start to move pretty quickly, right? We've lost this trend line, not lost it with like that much gusto. Like it hasn't come down or sold off very aggressively since, but still looks like it's relatively weak and like, hey, the path of least resistance, probably to the downside now. Right, this mRNA giving us a nice little combo setup as well, right? We've kind of a ascending wedge double inside bar here, right? So we can get that breakdown under this, say, 370 area, right? That starts to get interesting towards that 360 zone. Whereas moves above that 410 or 407, right, start to move towards that 420 relatively quickly. This mRNA is a mega mover here at the moment, right? Extreme volatility. So what that kind of tells me is we want to size down on a name like this, right? This doesn't need to be a full size, full send play, right? You can go half size here and still be pretty happy with the possible rewards that you're setting yourself up for. So don't oversize on this trade here, right, on this mRNA. It's got a lot of volatility. The options are going to be very expensive still. So don't price yourself into a red trade, right? Give yourself an opportunity to be able to stomach a little bit of risk and stomach a little bit of volatility before this thing is really ready to go. Right? Snow, we're looking for this ascending wedge breakout continuation. Really nice, strong move here on Friday going into its earnings on August 26th. So still about 10 days away. Right? Still a little bit of time to go here. Looking for that break up and over, say, that 290, 276, right? And then you can start targeting kind of that 295, 297, 300 areas. I would like to see kind of strong volume on this. Still happy to go full size by default today, tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. And then kind of as we get later into the week, right, this thing starts to become half size trade as we start to deal with that earnings positioning. Right, this UPST Upstart Holdings, really nice 3 green soldiers pattern post earnings on really strong volume. Right, this thing might, might not quite be ready to rock and roll today. Right, I would love, maybe wouldn't mind seeing like a period of consolidation. Now, I'd say in general, as long as we don't make a low under this 184.50s area, or kind of give or take that zone, that the bullish thesis still kind of remains in play. So as long as that's kind of there, I'm happy to kind of play any consolidation breakouts we get still. So for now, I'm not too fussed about this gap down here on this UPST. All right, same kind of story here on this D-Dog. We're getting a really nice 3 green soldiers, pattern on kind of increasing or building volume. So now we're going to look for either, kind of that breakout today over this 137.50 or a period of consolidation, right, which leads to that 137.50 breakout. No real bearish scenario or no real bearish case or an obvious bearish case for me here this morning. So hopefully we can either get that period of consolidation or that clean break, right? The sooner that move can happen as well, generally the better. So plug looks like an interesting one here this morning, right? We're going to want to play this as like a Tesla sympathy play. So we're anticipating a little bit of softness here in this Tesla on that, possible hiccup news with their autopilot or auto driving technology, right? So this plug has a trend line breakdown. If we can lose it under, say, this 24.70 area, right? Then we start moving, towards that $24 area and then, plus. Definitely looks like it's lost its trend line here, though, right? Lost the low or has an attempt to lose the low of that trend line. So if that does go, then you got room towards that $24 area pretty comfortably, right? Something like this DraftKings is another one that looks pretty interesting, right? Wedge breakout, looking for that continuation move towards that $56 area, right? On that inside bar play. Seeing a little bit of weakness here this morning, but again, not that much to really worry you yet. This thing might not be ready today, but kind of going into NFL season and fantasy football season and all these sort of things, right? DraftKings and FanDuel and all these sort of companies are going to be just everywhere. They're going to be on so many advertisements over the next kind of week or so, next couple months or so, and they're going to be everywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of an increase in the attention this name gets. And, if we see that volume increase and then that breakout over that 54.75, right, then that DraftKings can start to become a really interesting setup. Okay, Dash looks like a nice, DTR bullish engulfing play, right? Post earnings, earnings were bad, but, relatively good forward guidance going forward. So bullish case or bullish thesis can kind of still remain in play, right? Looking for a breakout over this 195.60 area. Kind of continuation moves towards that 200 zone, right, and then 200 plus. Love the volume here on this breakout, right, or this reversal candle, this DTR bullish engulfing. So option volume is going to be key here, right? Going to need something that has like 1K option volume or tight spreads. If I have to compromise on anything there, then I'm sizing down, going quarter position sizing, and playing this essentially as a lotto. All right, this Unity Software has a nice 3 green soldiers pattern on incredible volume, right? Huge volume post earnings and kind of at that 130 resistance zone. Moves up and over, go towards that 131.60, and then you can start to fill this wick, right, towards that 150 upper. You know, expect some resistance like at that 135, right? Maybe something a little bit else along the way. But this thing has a lot of potential. You know, generally don't want to see this 123.90 area get lost here today. We don't want to really make a lower low. But we'll evaluate things at the end of the day if this thing does. Right, Visa looks like a nice weak inside bar setup. You can get those moves kind of under this, right, kind of under this 230 zone. Moves under that 230 can move pretty aggressively towards that 229, right, and then that 228. Certainly moves like $1 at a time to the downside, and certainly looks like the path of least resistance is that way. I don't really want to fight this to the upside here yet. I still think this downtrend is a little bit too strong to want to play this down. Right, this LVS, Las Vegas Sands Corporation, printing or what looks to be a really nice bear flag here. Right, so really big flag pull post earnings. Right, here's your flag. Now we've got a really nice resistance zone here, or thin resistance zone. It just kind of wicks right in between this 40 area and 38.75, between 36.70. Right, so you know, this is a kind of hotel play, right? A kind of anti-reopening play on some Delta COVID variant fears, right? So as that continues to escalate, as the market continues to digest that news, airliners and hotels are getting crushed. This LVS doesn't appear to be any exception to that rule, right? So we're looking for this bear flag continuation play under that 38.70 area for moves towards that 36.65. Okay, this McDonald's MCD, nice 3 green soldiers pattern, needs to get up and over that 239.10 for moves towards that 240, right? Then that 241.40. You know, same kind of story we've been talking about with all these 3 green soldiers is we don't want to see lower lows here, right, on these patterns. So as long as we keep making you know, higher highs, or, you know, if we get a little head fake, low vol pullback here, okay, that's fine. It's still looking for that breakout up and over that 239. All right, this ABT looking like a nice inside bar on increasing volume, right, under this 123.65 resistance. Moves above that can start to get a little bit explosive towards that 124.50, right, 125. You know, and then maybe we can make a case to start going towards that 126, 128 area. Looks really good. Probably going to want to see this move in conjunction with J&J, mRNA, you know, Pfizer, those sort of things, right? If those names are strong, then, you know, this thing has a chance to kind of give us that breakout, right? Palantir, really strong day after its earnings, right? Really strong gap up after its earnings, on Thursday. Followed that up by a textbook low vol pullback inside bar. Calling this low vol pullback is just a relative term towards Thursday's volume, right? So call Friday's volume about 1/4 of what Thursday's volume was. And it was a nice real textbook low vol pullback. So we can get that rip up and over this 25.35, right? I think we got room towards that 25.85, then 26, right? And then we can start kind of pushing towards these highs here. Above that 26 area. Palantir is like one of those kind of classic meme names, right? It's so popular with the Wall Street Bets crew and all that kind of stuff that it's not one I want to short right after this wedge breakout pattern. So for me, it's only triggers right for plays to the upside, right? If this wasn't breaking out of a trend, then okay, I'd be happy to play this short. But for now, I think this makes sense to not fight the trend and look for bull moves only. Right, and then last but not least, we have this coin. Right, coin's going to be a bit of a sympathy play here today, right? If Bitcoin, right, BTC USD is strong today, right, it looks to be giving us a little bit of recovery, right? If it's strong, then I'm anticipating coin to have a chance to get up and over this 267.80 to fill that gap towards that 274 zone. If we're able to fill that gap, then wow, that would be a really fun trade, right? And we're not going to force it though. So this thing looks really interesting on this inside bar, right? If we can get back up and over inside. If we can't, then so be it, right? Still happy to play breakdowns under this 260 as well if it goes weak, right, towards that 255. But biases towards that upside gap fill towards that 274.50 area, right? I think that looks to me like a very strong possible setup. So we got a lot of stuff here, right? Certainly a lot more than what we saw sort of this time last week, right? And last week was still relatively choppy. VIX is kind of waking up a little bit here. Not too much, right? We kind of closed that area in a sub 16 print. Now we're opening up, VIX at 17.13. So not exactly screaming volatile conditions, but hopefully that means that we get those nice triggers in the morning and then kind of that lack of follow through here in the afternoon, right? Last week was very challenging, right? Very frustrating, all those sort of things. And that's the way the market's going to be sometimes. So if you can survive that, if you can get through that, then you can get through anything. And that's really the way you need to look at it going forward, right? So hopefully we get a couple nice setups here, right? There's a few nice looking plays. So best of luck out there, right, everyone? If you want to get the detailed information of what levels I'm looking at, right, all the numbers, where to set your alerts, right, please check out my website, www.dtrtrading/the blueprint, right? And that link is in the description, and you can download this, completely free, and you can see all your levels, right? DTR is also free for the rest of August, so if you want to come trade these setups with me or kind of see how, how these moves develop kind of intraday, come join us, right? Come check it out. It's free till August 1st, so there's zero hesitation there. But otherwise, guys, best of luck out there today and happy hunting. Hope to see you all in the room later this morning. Otherwise, best of luck out there. Peace.